So they're finally here, the new Rolex Submariner. Submariners, there's a whole collection of these things. Let's check it out. Welcome back to Bark and Jack. I am Adrian, and regardless of whether you like Rolex or not, it is hard to ignore them. They are one of the biggest watchmakers in the world. They're most certainly the most powerful watch brand in the world. They're probably one of the most powerful brands in the world. So when they launch a new watch, it's a big thing. It's a big event, especially when they're updating probably their most iconic watch. Probably most iconic watch ever. And that's what these guys have done. Rolex has updated the Submariner. We have 8 new watches, and everything that was there before has either been discontinued or updated. We have a Submariner with a black bezel and a black dial in stainless steel. We have a Submariner date with a black bezel and a black dial in stainless steel. We have a Submariner date with a green bezel and black dial in stainless steel. And we have a Submariner date with a blue bezel and a black dial in white gold. And then we have a usual cluster of two-tone and yellow gold versions. The specifications are, we now have a 41mm wide case, we still have a trip lock crown, and we still have 300 meters of water resistance. We still have a unidirectional dive bezel, and we still have the Cerachrome ceramic insert. The Rolex haters will say this is just the same old watch, just with a slightly different combinations of color, bezel, and dial. But actually, although on paper they sound relatively insignificant, these changes are significant. I speculated that the Submariner case was going to increase to 42mm and that they were going to slim down the lugs. It's gone to 41mm and the lugs are slimmer. The 41mm wide case is technically an increase in size, but just from the images we can't tell if it's going to wear larger or smaller because the lugs have been slimmed down. Also, the previous version of the ceramic Submariner, the 116610, it had a flared case. It was thinner at the top than at the bottom, and so it's hard to judge where the measurements are being done. And also, just like all the Submariners, the bezel overhangs the case. Basically what I'm trying to say is, if you're concerned about the increase in size, don't be. You just have to wait until you try this watch on before making judgment on the size of the watch. The biggest thing for me, I think, is a massive improvement, and that is the ratio between the case diameter and the thickness of the lugs. The case now looks more curvy. It's a more pleasing design. I feel like it's going back to what the slimmer case was, the aluminium bezel era of the Submariner. I feel like we're going back to that more iconic design of the Submariner. From what I can tell, the bracelet is still the same. It's still the 20mm wide oyster lock bracelet with the glide lock extension system inside, which is a superb mechanism. I absolutely love that bracelet. I think the biggest, actually, is this bigger than the case change? Maybe not, maybe on par. Another big change is the movement inside. Everyone speculated that there was going to be a movement update, and they've done it. We now have the caliber 3230. This movement now has 70 hours of power reserve, which is, as a person who owns a watch with 70 hours of power reserve, my Black Bay 58, it is a really handy thing to have a nice long power reserve. But the other thing is this now has the Paraflex shock absorber inside. The Paraflex is what Rolex calls its own shock absorber system, and according to Caliber Corner, a brilliant website. If you want to geek out on watch movements, or you want to understand more about the movement in your watch, perhaps the origins or what it's based on, jump over to Caliber Corner. Honestly, such a good website. But they describe the Paraflex as a spring-loaded mounting system for the dual bearings that support the balance wheel. Anti-shock devices like the Paraflex help protect the balance wheel's pivots from damage in the event of dropping the watch or hitting it against something hard. The Paraflex has been around. It was developed in 2005. It was first introduced into movements around 2008. So maybe this is part of Rolex's kind of testing period. They introduced it in the Oyster Perpetual first in 2008, and then kind of started to roll it out into various other models. So I wonder if this is their kind of way of testing how something actually works. It's now finally been installed in arguably the most popular sports watch of Rolex. Right, probably the most important thing for us to talk about is names. We need to name this thing. First green Submariner was called the Kermit. Second green Submariner was called the Hulk. So what's this going to be called? We've got the Harrods edition for the Tudor. We can't call this Harrods because it's not technically linked to Harrods, and so you could get sued if you called something Harrods that isn't Harrods. You could call it Harrods. You can't do that because that's the name of one of my new straps. that you can get over at barkandjack.com. This is our new broadweave NATO strap, single pass NATO strap, and this is called Arad's Green. We have some seatbelt nylon NATO straps over there, our updated version, the NATO 2.0. We've also got nice leather straps over there and leather pouches. So jump over to barkandjack.com, click on the little shop button and check out the straps and accessories that we have over there. But seriously, we do need to think of a new name for these watches. So drop a little comment down below and let me know what you think we should be calling these. I feel like sillier the better, really, because it kind of just makes it all a bit ironic. Before I leave you, I do want to have a quick chat about hype. I get so many DMs, so many comments, so many messages from people moaning about watches that they can't get hold of. Daytonas, Submariners, Explorers, Batmans, all of that stuff. We don't have to have these watches. It's not going to change. The only thing that's going to happen when you get one of these watches is that the money in your bank account is going to be less and you're going to be able to tell the time. This is all part of the game. People say, oh, Rolex don't make enough watches. They make a huge amount of watches. 1 million watches a year is a huge amount of watches. So I'd be surprised if they could build that level of watch more than what they're doing right now. So all of this is just part of the game. Don't get caught up in the hype of this stuff. Yes, lots of people are going to be talking about these watches. I'm part of that problem. I am genuinely excited about Rolex, and I'm genuinely excited about these new watches. But please just remember that you don't have to have this stuff. It's okay to go and buy something else or do something else. That's just that little rant. Anyway, I really hope that I can get hands-on with one of these watches. I'm going to try really hard to get hands-on, especially with the Kermit, because I think it'd be quite cool to, the Kermit, I'm already calling it the Kermit, the green new Submariner. I want to get hands-on with that so I can compare it to my one. And it'd just be fun to check out these watches. Guys, drop me a comment down below and let me know what you think of these watches and what you think we should call these watches as well. And if you like this video, hit the thumbs up button. If you like the style of this video, hit the subscribe button down there and a little bell icon so you get notifications when I drop a new video. If you're interested in watch articles, jump over to barkandjack.com and check out the articles that we have over there. If you like watch shots, jump over to Instagram and give us a follow at barkandjack. And if you want to check out our watch straps and watch accessories, jump over to barkandjack.com and click on the little shop button. That's it. I'll see you guys next time. Take care.